Excited to be started on this second Confident Communicator Manual. Outstanding.
Wow.
Today, Jeremy will be talking to us about the dog who taught him that things are not always what they seem. Please welcome Jeremy Udell.
On an October morning in 2007, I was woken from a sound sleep by the music of my girlfriend's ringtone. Apparently, she'd stumbled across a stray dog who she thought needed our help. "Can you please bring him some food and water?" Oh my gosh, really? It was a weekend. I wanted to sleep in. But I love my girlfriend, so I rolled out of bed, gathered some food and water, and drove off to meet her. My life has never been the same.
No.
Fellow Toastmasters, imagine, if you will, a big, strong, white dog. He had cropped ears, scars on his face. He looked a little bit like a pit bull. I'd heard some pretty bad stories about pit bulls. If you were like me, maybe you'd have had a similar reaction. This dog is scary. I don't want to have anything to do with him. Let's get him to the ASPCA as soon as we can. But things are not always as they seem. We soon learned that ASPCA doesn't take strays. Animal control is where you take the stray.
Oh.
They keep them for a week, and if they're not adopted, they euthanize them. Well, that wasn't an option. Pets by Judy didn't have room. Out of options, we brought him into our home, and we discovered all he needed was a good home. Ghost, as we named him, is a Halison animal. Sweet, kind, calm.
Oh.
I'll never forget that first week with him. We were keeping my dogs in a separate place because we weren't sure how he'd react to them. So they were staying with my girlfriend, now wife, Rebecca. Ghost was alone with me at my house. A couple days after we brought him into the house, I was sitting on the couch, just watching TV, and he decided to jump up on the couch. Well, I don't mind dogs on the couch that much, but he stood there and stared at me. Remember, I've only had him a couple days. I don't know him that well, and he's scary looking. I was a little frightened. That is, until he plopped down on my lap.
Oh.
And turns out Ghost is a cuddle bug and loves to lay on top of us. By the way, he got along great with my other dogs. The first time we took him to the vet, on that first day we picked him up, we could already tell that he was flea-ridden and malnourished. We could see that his legs didn't work that well and that he had bad teeth. What we didn't know was that he also had heartworms. Heartworms, for those who don't know, is a bad disease. If left untreated in your pet, it can become fatal. And that was where Ghost was. He had reached the point where the heartworms were untreatable.
Oh.
He had a death sentence. 12 to 18 months he had. They told us keep him comfortable. They told us don't play with him because you could send him into cardiac arrest with all the strenuous activity. But things are not always as they seem. I tried not to play with Ghost, but when I'd take my other dogs out to play, he would run around the house, barking, jumping, banging on the doors. A couple of times he banged on the doors so hard they popped open, and he ran out to play with us. I realized he was going more crazy not playing with us than he would have been if I'd have just brought him outside. So I did. I brought him outside, and I'd throw the ball for him. Over, and over, and over again. I have a Labrador and an Italian Greyhound, and they would both tire out before Ghost did. This sick dog just kept going for that ball. And 3 years after that diagnosis of 12 to 18 months, we find Ghost as happy and healthy as he's ever been. Recently, he's been diagnosed with chronic pancreatitis, which is something older dogs start to get. It requires some special food and daily medications, and these special requirements are pretty expensive. I did the math one time, and I found out that his maintenance costed 10 times as much as our other 3 dogs combined. I said to myself, this seems like an awful lot of money to pay for one sick dog. But things are not always as they seem. Because on the last morning in April of this past month, I received another call that woke me out of a sound sleep. I was in Bonita Springs, and my wife was in Tampa, so Ghost was staying with my father-in-law. At 4:45 a.m. he called, and I knew it couldn't be good. Ghost had died. As I drove back to dig a grave for him, I realized there was no amount of money that he wasn't worth. For more fetch and walks and kisses and cuddles, we buried him underneath a gardenia bush whose flowers are white and sweet like he was. I hurt more than I expected. But he always did surprise me. Sweeter than he looked, healthier and more energetic than anybody would have guessed, and more loved than I realized. Ghost was never what he seemed.